I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board, June 18th, 2019. Do we have an approval of the agenda for tonight? Motion, please.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Did we have minutes?
No minutes yet. They're a monster. And I was really busy last week, so.
Okay.
But I'll have them for the next meeting.
Thank you, Peter. Marine Department report, not seeing Sheila at this time. We'll move right forward with natural resources. Tara, if you have anything.
Just give you a quick update. So last week, the Massachusetts Shellfish Officers Association was over here for their quarterly meeting, so we were able to get them in the hatchery and give them a tour and let them know what was going on. So far, we've had 2 bay scallop larval releases. The first one was in the horse shed, and we did 10 million there, and then the second one was, when was that? Oh, we did it Saturday morning in Third Bend, and that was 20 million that we put out there. And yesterday we had a big spawn. We've got 200 million eggs that have filled up the hatchery again.
Cool.
So we'll see what hatches tomorrow. And then as far as like the wild and natural spawns that are going on, we bring in our first set of spat bags this week. So we'll be able to see if there's any like natural recruitment going on in the harbor, and also over in Nantucket, and just kind of see what that's all about. In our outdoor tanks right now, we have 70,000 oysters that we've set on shell that are gonna go out to the oyster reef, and those are set on scallop shells. And then Leah just set another 2 million today on scallop shells outside, so that's what's in our outdoor tanks. And I think that's all we have for since last time we talked to you.
Lots of babies.
What's the eelgrass like where you put out the seed at the horse shed in Third
It's
Bend?
pretty good. The information that we have is from a survey that we did 2 years ago. So we already have spat lines out there in Third Bend, so we added some more for the evaluation. We don't evaluate larval releases unless they're greater than like 10 million at one time, because it's not really worth our time to do all the diving and the data on it. But I feel like the water quality and the data is pretty good. The eelgrass for the Third Bend area. We are doing another set. I think I told you at the last meeting that we're doing another evaluation in September for Nantucket Harbor. So do a full eelgrass survey and a shellfish survey as well to go with that. And then I didn't mention, but on Thursday we're going to be working with the Land Council planting eelgrass on Husky Shoal, continuing their project that they started last year. So we'll be out there harvesting and planting.
May I ask why you would select Third Bend, say, over Second Bend, where the second point is so long that it's a well-protected bend?
Yeah,
Just curious.
I take advice from anyone that will give it. We probably will have 8 larval releases, so there's lots of time for, expanding to different places. I think historically what I've been told about Second Bend is that there's been some closures there before to see how seed has grown, and it hasn't done well. But that doesn't mean that we should rule it out. So I just try to think about like where the tide is and what the weather's doing that day and the wind direction when we pick where we're gonna put it. Yeah, I don't know. That's where we picked for a second.
I'm just curious and not suggesting. Second Bend was always notorious for growing beans, really, and probably because of lack of circulation with that long point coming around. But it always seemed like more of a safe haven, so to speak.
Yeah, I think when we're choosing places, it doesn't, like, I think it's important for recruitment if it is a safe haven. And then if we do have a good set there, we can manage it and move it around to a place where it will grow better. So that's definitely some good advice when we're looking at.
Well, Mr. Chairman, wasn't Third Bend always a beanery as well?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, maybe.
No.
It
It's
seemed like it was-
actually it's kind of like the fallback area that I've noticed for most scallopers. That when other areas are fished out, they end up turning to Third Bend and are able to obtain a catch there. It may take a little longer, but and it's a long bend, so there's much greater amount of area there.
Well, your information's more up to date than mine. So,
Please.
and just for the record, the old Nantucket pronunciation is Huzzy Shoal.
Oh. Third Bend's nice because you can fish it in any kind of high northerly too.
I had a question. When you release it, are you doing it at right when the tide turns to coming back in because you don't want it to wash out?
That's correct.
And then, so I would think it'd make more sense to release further up the harbor because if there was anything going on, it would at least it would take longer for it to travel up and whatever was being cast down further would maybe latch onto something before it went out.
Yeah, I think we try to be careful of like 4th and 5th Bend areas so stuff doesn't end up circulating up there and then recruiting up there. So I think Third Bend is as far as we would probably go in a release.
Plus the water seems like the water would be moving more around Third Bend, so the water might be clearer and might be better than...
One of our best sets, I think it was the second year I did it, was actually in 5th Bend where there isn't real grass and everything just set right there in the sand, and it was really great.
Great.
Well, when it ladies, the big soakers.
According to Tim Mooney, Fifth Bend has a lot of codium in it, and he's back when I first got on here and took issue with codium just from past experiences from when it first arrived here in the 70s and was dubbed Japanese moss. But we always noticed back then that the codium attached to the hinge of the scallop, therefore suffocating the scallop, not allowing it to open. And according to Tim Mooney, he claims the scallops have somehow been able to survive in the codium, and he's actually done some diving there and has had good luck. So to me, that was surprising, but good information. Board members, any other questions for Natural Resources? Public comment, questions? Peter, did I miss something that I may have, should have mentioned in Chairman's report?
No, I don't think we had anything unless there's something you wanted to say.
Okay, I thought we might have discussed something, and at this point it slipped my mind, and that's okay. Moving on to old business, hazardous materials collection, containment, recap, and more thoughts. Mr. Franzuto sent an email. He talked to Clean Harbors. They seem to understand the concept we discussed about coordinating a major collection date with oil, antifreeze, in larger quantities. However, they stated that it would have to be coordinated and requested by DPW as they are the contract holder for the town. He asked me if I was planning to invite Mr. McNeil to a meeting to talk about our latest ideas. I let him know that he has attended a meeting and he's willing to attend again. If we can get him on board, this is Dave speaking again, he then can request collection, hopefully for the date in September. They being Clean Harbors, also stated that one of the major producers, Toscana or Don Allen, for example, could possibly be the contact, and it could go through them. Dave feels that it would be better to go through the town at the landfill with a major advertising campaign to inform the public of when and what to bring. I met with the building inspector today, and he is scheduled to meet with the town manager and others to discuss hazardous waste, along with job site dumpsters and litter and roadside parking, etc. He also stated he would be agreeable to attaching reminders to newly issued permits for contractors to be registered as hazardous waste producers with the DEP. So I felt that was good news. The meeting that he was to have with town manager was scheduled for an earlier date and was canceled. A new date has not been made yet. I'm going to see if it's possible I could sit in on this meeting. Any other thoughts, board members?
I think it's pretty positive so far.
Yeah.
I guess, we're making headway.
And I had a Conservation Commission member who, maybe I just shouldn't say who his name was, I was speaking to yesterday after the SBPF denial, and he was remarking how cool he thought it was that we were taking on issues like this that were just a little bit far out of the eelgrass, but still within the ballpark, trying to help out. So, and he'd been on their board for a long time, so I thought that was cool. Somebody's noticing.
That's good to hear. They denied the project?
4-3.
I did not hear that. Very interesting.
Doesn't mean it's gone.
No, absolutely not. If we've exhausted hazardous waste, we'll move on to goals and objectives. Recap from the last meeting. We had a lot of good discussion at the last meeting. If everybody's had a chance to digest what we've spoken about and think about priorities, I'd love to hear them.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I did meet with Fritz and spoke with him for a little bit and got his files. I haven't been able to read them all, they're quite voluminous, but we're on the way on that. And secondarily, I have looked at the agendas. The select board's doing an executive meeting this week, so they're not doing anything we'd be interested in, but I've been trying to keep track of those agendas. If I see something, I'll let you know. If you don't hear anything, I probably didn't see anything.
Okay, but thank you, Tom.
They're also doing appointments as well for all the committees, for everybody who's turned in yeah.
Will they have a normal meeting before it goes to executive?
Probably, I would think so. But yeah, I mean, there's like 3 spots open on the Conservation Commission, for instance, and then there's the people who are going to be on the other people who are going to be on the Coastal Resiliency Advisory Committee and all the other committees that people have put their names in for. So I believe it will be public before.
There is something public before, but nothing that we were interested in.
Yeah,
So that's tomorrow night, the appointments.
right. Yep.
Thank you, Peter. Any other board members, comments, goals and objectives, recapping from our last meeting?
I think I'd like to understand where we stand with the clean. We talk about clean out. I'm big on recharge and preventing water runoff. Coincidentally, I was just back in New Jersey, and Ocean County is taking one of their highways and disconnecting it from the stormwater system and putting in recharge system down the length of the highway because it's right on Barnegat Bay. And that's incredible. I mean, they have that, the towns put that in for all the commercial businesses, but now the county came by and they're doing it for one of their state highways.
Can you describe recharge?
So recharge is where they, instead of going into a typical stormwater system that would dump into a bay, they select an area, and in supermarkets or any one of these, like a Home Depot or something, it's under the parking lot, and they actually put a cavern down there, basically, of various materials, and there are filter areas on the way in, and there are overflow, for the event that they do overflow, they turn into a big swamp, but they dry out most of the time, but they'll fill back up in a big rain. But basically, the stormwater all runs into these areas, and it's allowed to recharge back into the groundwater system, instead of just flowing right in the bay. And now they're taking a state highway, or a county highway, and they're doing the same thing to it. They're putting pits next to the road at various places, and they're diverting all this off the storm sewer system and into these big recharge areas to allow the water to go back into the ground instead of just dump into the bay right off the highway.
You're talking about, vegetative swales?
Exactly. exactly, right, yep. And I'm not saying it's directly applicable here, but we do have some collection points, and every once in a while we touch on that, is something being done with them? Are they we don't think there are, they're being cleaned out, being managed. Because this, watching these people do this project, it's a big management job for it too, to keep after a maintenance job. Mm. But anyway, I'd like to, maybe when DPW is present, maybe we can talk about if there's a plan in there to work on our catch basins and the ones that exist and clean them out. I'd like to get more information on that.
I believe that process was discussed for the rebuilding of the town pier parking lot, and I'm not quite sure if there's already some type of a system that was created under that parking lot when it was first paved. And the system you're talking about that's built underneath parking lots, Peter, as you would know, it's not the same as a swale, so to speak.
Right, these are two different systems. Right,
yes,
right.
And I believe a system kind of like that might have gone under the parking lot at Stop and Shop. But there again, I'm not quite sure, but I did see a lot of like yellow cavern things buried underneath the parking lot. And I imagine they'll probably do the same thing at the hospital. I'm a big fan of the swales, but with the limited real estate that we have here, so it certainly can become an issue in that manner. If they do redo the town pier parking lot, hopefully there is an inclusion in revamping what's there. And if there is nothing there, of course, creating a system that does help filter what comes down through and dumps out right in front of there on Washington Street. So this is something I feel should be on our radar and should be a priority. I believe it's a priority on the list for the DPW also, and along with the Land Council, and certainly something we should stay up to speed on.
Mr. Chairman, when Emily Molden was here, she was talking about how when whatever work they're going to do on the town parking lot, they, with the help of the Land Council, would be rebuilding that little park area as what she called a bioretention area, making that into a collection area for. Yeah.
Which in some cases it becomes already.
Yeah. And I had a goal and objective, but it's more of a follow-up from something that we already started, and we need to get Jeff to come in here and give us an update on the policy that the NRD was going to develop for commercial entities that take large groups of people out for recreational shellfishing. And we were sort of hot on that last fall or in the wintertime, and Jeff said, "Oh yeah, I'll get back to you," and then we haven't heard anything, so I don't know. And so I've already seen photos of Blair Perkins taking people out, which is great, but we should try and make it easier for them somehow.
Anything you might know about that, Tara?
I am not up to date on that policy.
Okay. Well, certainly Jeff was well aware of our concern, and he was also concerned to make sure it was something that took place that falls under all the regulations. So an update from Jeff on that here we are back to our next season. So duly noted, and we'll see if we can get Jeff in at our next meeting, and possibly Mr. McNeil also. Just to review, Peter, I mean, you've gone over the recording. Were there any other hot topics that?
Well, we had our workshop meeting.
Yes.
So we were. Oh, okay. The goals and objectives. I haven't listened to the tape yet. I'm sorry. When I said
That's all right.
When I said I couldn't get to it, it's because I couldn't get to it. So I haven't listened to it.
Okay.
But
That's quite all right, Peter. but it would be good if we, came forward. We do have some things on our table that we're working with, but there's always more issues to deal with, and I'd like to have them out and in front of us and prioritized to try to.
Well, one thing, two of the things that Dave brought up is he brought up, possibility of having an emergency boat ramp somewhere, which would hopefully be Great Harbor Yacht Club. And then the other thing was Chapter 91 access and making sure that everybody complied, which I think is crucial. I mean, what did he say? There's some sign at the Great Harbor Yacht Club that says you can't go down Travel Lift Way, and
Yeah, there is, yeah.
and so how can there be that if part of the perimeter walk is
Well, there's a half dozen signs that lead you in that direction,
right?
And then you're told not
And then
to go any further.
there's a sign as you turn onto Salty Way that says not a throughway, but then there's another sign that says this way to the public access or wherever it is. So it's kind of a contradiction. I mean, I myself have never seen people purposely going to walk around Great Harbor Yacht Club, but it has to be there, and they have to have those signs up. So, and I know that Chapter 91 is more of a Concom thing, but still.
All right.
I don't know who would have put the signs up there, but there's definitely one there that says, pretty sure it says private property and trespassing. Like pull down in the morning sometimes,
Yeah.
look out over the harbor and drink a coffee.
There's a committee, I'm sorry.
A couple of times I've sat there and people will walk by the truck from the yacht club and haven't said anything, but
Yeah.
Who knows?
There's a public access and ways committee. I was just reading their agenda, I forget the name of it, but
Roads and right away.
Roads and right of way, is that,
Yep.
yeah, right. I wonder if maybe we just drop a note to them that this is, to that committee, that these signs are up there and that we've all seen them, and they're not supposed to be there. Any more than the no dogs on the Sconset Bluff is supposed to be there, it's just, people just put them up. So, yeah, I mean, if I think of it, I'll drop a note to someone in the committee. I know some of the people.
So I can take my dog on the Sconset Bluff?
You're allowed to, but somebody just put a sign up. They don't want you to,
I saw the
apparently.
sign.
Yeah, no, you're allowed to, absolutely. Walked it for many, many years.
Peter, do you believe that would be the right group to approach about that access?
Well, I think they should know about it, but I think you should also tell the Conservation Commission, since they rule on Chapter 91. It's
okay.
It's yeah. I mean,
I think it's 310 CMR, if I recall correctly.
yeah. Yeah. It's always a part of permits on the waterfront.
So you, for the marina, they had to sign up and state that they would keep the public access.
Right.
Right, okay.
Yeah, they post a sign. It's right. You go.
I've seen the signs that take you there, right?
Right.
But then, same
Right.
thing as everybody's seen, is the sign now that says no trespassing at the end.
They're supposed to do a lot of things down there that they don't do.
But I dare you to go there when there's a big party or something like that,
And try to walk
and
there,
walk down
yeah.
in your flip flops
They
and
put a rope
rip.
across there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually, like,
Yeah.
I know during the summer months, you go by there and there's a rope across the end of the road, so, it's up far enough that their service vehicles can get into the kitchen part of there, because their yacht club kitchen accesses Travel Lift Way. But they put a rope up right past where the kitchen entrance is, and you can't go by there.
I think the walkway that they open for the public to use begins where that building is. When you come in heading towards Sales, the first building is right here, and then the little U-shaped parking lot is here, and you can see the sign. It points the way to go, and so I'm betting that they want you to go that way, and then come out on the Travel Lift Way. If you go to Travel Lift Way, I don't think there's a sign.
Oh, I see, right, so they go in the way they kind of steer you and come around and come
Right,
out
so when
Travel
you're
Lift
coming
Way.
out, then you're
Right.
okay, but going
Right.
in Travel Lift Way, maybe they're trying to prevent people from just walking down there and getting in the way of the travel lift, or
Right.
which is
Oh,
legitimate,
that's
but
understandable. Sure, oh, sure, because the delivery trucks go in and out of there.
yeah, but it's not that busy, so.
But there's a few things they're supposed to do down there. One of them is they're supposed to sell fuel, and they don't. They haven't for a long time. They just
Dave
had an
mentioned that.
agreement With Dennis Egan. Dennis Egan would meet you down there early in the morning and pump fuel from one of his trucks to your boat, which was all legit and legal and all that, but I guess Dennis decided it wasn't worth his time, which is, fine as kind with him, but.
So they weren't required to put in a storage tank and a fuel pump?
16 different obligations that they're supposed to fulfill, the travel, liftway, walkway, and fuel, there's a few other ones, and
You can pull the approval of the planning board and the order of conditions from the Concom and read what all the conditions are,
I believe Dave was gonna look into it. Franzuto was gonna look into what they weren't supposed to do,
But as far as you recall, Peter, the access was a Concom condition?
Yeah, because it's Chapter 91. Chapter 91 is, it's a state regulation. It's administered, where it's appropriate by, well, they're required to, get a Chapter 91 license to be on the waterfront to have when they develop.
I know I hauled out down there before, like work boats out. The yacht club fights it tooth and nail, everything they possibly can, and I've been put on travel with way, I've been put just past sails on the right, I've been put on the left, and it's always a controversy, so I run my boats to the mainland now and haul them out over there. I'd rather spend the money here, but it's too much of a fight to try to haul the boat out. I mean, my boats are big, it's not like a boat you can skip, but I can see people being upset about it, but I think they're obligated. So, but whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah, you might want to look at that. I think I was on the Concom when the Great Harbor came in, and I don't remember the conditions off the top of my head, but it'd be worth looking at. It was quite a while ago.
Well, first of all, it's not on the agenda, so it's probably best we do not take a vote on it, but we really need to make sure we have our information in order. I would love to send out a letter to the proper board or commission to remind them of that. So we'll simply have to have this on our agenda for the next meeting and do some research on what the conditions were on the final approval from the Concom. Does that sound logical?
Yeah, I may even have some stories that I wrote about that I could dig out that stuff.
Well, I certainly know there was a lot of opposition, and I'm constantly reminded of that when I feel we ought to have a little more access, maybe not right directly through the Great Harbor Yacht Club property, but right next to it. And I'm often reminded about all the opposition there was to it, and now we have we have events held there, and it's like, well, that ought to be a sign that the opposition is over. The yacht club got to build what they want, and let's move forward. So, which reminds me, not to skip out of place, but Tara, do you know when the State of the Harbor Forum is?
I do not. I can find out for you though.
Okay.
Like the second or third week of July on a Saturday.
Well, either last year or the year before, it coincided with one of our meetings, and our next item on the agenda is summer meeting dates, and I'd hate to pick the third Tuesday of July, and that would be the same evening of the State of the Harbor address, so
I had it in my... It's like it's either the Saturday the 20th of July or Saturday I think it's the 20th.
really, on a Saturday.
Well, that's
If it's a Saturday, it's not going to conflict.
Correct.
find out. It's the land council that holds it, so. The 18th.
which would be a Thursday. Any more discussion on goals and objectives? Ginger, anything?
Not right now.
No. Okay. Nothing with mosquito trenches or ditches.
Maybe more in the future, but not at the present time.
Okay. And Peter?
I've got nothing.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll put together what we do have and maybe try to list it out.
Well, from the minutes, I should be able to. Well, I've got Fritz's last one, our last matrix, and it's a PDF, and I've got Adobe Acrobat, so I can break into it and modify it. So I could take everything from the minutes and put it into that, and then bring it to the board, and the board can say, "This is great," or "This is wrong," or "We need to," or whatever. We can edit it on the spot. Decide what the priorities are for each thing.
Some more information on dredging and its effects and its benefits would also.
Didn't Dave say at the
Good.
last meeting, did he say something about the draft dredging plan is going to be ready by now? Pretty soon? Yeah.
Which will help us with an understanding of what direction that will be going in. If there's no more discussion on goals and objectives, let's discuss summer meeting dates. Peter's got listed July 2nd and 16th for new members here. In the past, we have met just once in July and once in August. That's to be voted on each year. That vote needs to be made tonight, and we need to decide whether we meet twice in July, just once. If it's once, which date, the first or the third Tuesday, and the same with August. Comments, please.
I say one meeting per month. I'm on the water almost every day. I like coming to the meetings, but I gotta cut my day short by a few hours, especially today. I had to get home and change my shirt because you didn't want me in here.
All right.
But that's just, it's a conflicting with my work schedule, but that's just my 2 cents, so.
Ginger?
I think once a month did fine.
Okay. And back to you, Dan. Third Tuesday?
Oh, doesn't matter to me.
Ginger?
Third Tuesday's better for me,
Okay.
but I would come regardless.
All right.
So
Tom?
unless prevented.
Either way works for me.
Okay.
The other way.
I would say, I agree with everybody, but with a caveat, if we decided if we absolutely have to have a meeting and a second meeting, then we would keep that open.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Well, absolutely. I think last year I voiced a similar concern, and we could hold a meeting. With proper notice, we can hold a meeting at any time
Yeah.
for an emergency.
Barring any emergency.
I'm in favor of the third Tuesday simply because it's closer to the end of the month, and any events that have taken place before that can be reported on to us at that latter date. So, if we is there a motion to hold our July and August meetings the third Tuesday?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you. We have nothing under new business, public questions or comments. Come on, Kona.
Kona, what do you got? You busy?
Recapping items for next meeting. Are we sure the state of the harbor is on the 18th? Did we conclude or
The 18th is Thursday.
clarify? I'm sorry.
I couldn't find it on the land council website, but I know I've seen it.
All right, I just hope it's not July 16th.
Yeah, it's, I just saw on the website it's the 18th. I confirmed it. It says this year too, believe it or not, yeah.
So Thursday.
Last year was, yeah, stay tuned for our meeting to be held July 18th, 2019.
Okay. Okay.
I was recently notified of a 2-day forum coming up. How to keep our historic
Oh,
areas afloat, something like that.
yeah, was it Nantucket Preservation Trust or Preservation Institute sponsoring this guy to come and talk about how coastal cities are preparing for the flood, basically, and I think it costs money to attend. I think it's like $120 a person to go. So kind of, yeah. But it's with all the historic structures down where it's low, you know, they probably have a good audience.
Yes, it sounded interesting. By the looks of the invite I got from Holly Backus, it's possible that committee and board member chairs, the fee is waived.
You should go.
So I'll certainly be taking advantage of that, and whatever is interesting, I will share with the board.
I'm sure
by all
I'm sure
means.
it'll be filmed as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you need a date, I could probably do that.
He'll come off the water for it.
Really?
He may not be.
Probably got a good path over.
If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So be it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I love short meetings.
Right?
Thank you, Tara. Thanks for being here, Kona.
Thanks, Kona.